Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for iFive for the iPhone is provided by Cashfly at CACHEFLY.com.
This episode of iFive for the iPhone is brought to you by Gazelle, the fast and simple way to sell your used gadgets. Find out what your used iPhone, iPad, and other Apple products are worth at Gazelle.com. Welcome to iFive for the iPhone, episode 71. This is the fine show where we scour the App Store, we find tips for you, we give you some news, we show you some tricks, and then we sit you down by the fire and tell you a story. Like to hear it? Here it goes. Number 1. So anybody who watches this show pretty closely might have noticed that last week my phone was completely dead. I don't mean battery, just the phone part. It said no service where the little Verizon name should be in the upper left-hand corner, which is funny because, like many of you, I almost never need to make a call. So how important is it that my phone doesn't work? Well, very important, obviously, because without data, all an iPhone is a nice little gold iPod Touch. Anyway, so here's what happened. I popped the SIM out and I put it in my old iPhone 5, and that worked fine. So I knew there was something wrong with the 5S itself. So I went into the Apple Store, went to the Genius Bar, didn't have a reservation, but I sweet-talked my way in, told them the problem, they tested it and agreed, and since a CDMA antenna isn't a swappable part, they gave me a shiny new gold iPhone 5S, which is cool with me because I had dropped the other one a couple times and it was starting to look a little worse for the wear 2 months in. A few Apple Store people I've talked to actually said that this is not a common issue. It's uncommon, but it does happen. So if you ever get a no service status on your phone and it's just not snapping back and you think that there's something more going on, pop your SIM into a compatible iPhone, test it. If the SIM's okay, you can at least pinpoint the problem. Thought I'd pass that on. Number 2, we got an email from Mathieu in the south of France. Where's my invitation, Mathieu? And he gave us a nice little list of apps that he thinks that we'd like. And I don't know if things are different in France, but I'd never heard of any of them. One called AfterFocus caught my attention. Let's see what it does. So with AfterFocus, you create a DSLR style background. It's like a blurred photo, sort of a telephoto thing, by selecting your focus area. Now, other apps like Instagram or Tilt Shift also have this feature, but AfterFocus is very precise. So you can use it to get much more specific results. You mark the areas you want, either manually or you have it auto do it for you. And then you've got Smart Focus Area Selection. Choose your focus area, choose your background, even if they're kind of weird, and then AfterFocus will recognize the focus area. You can also do a nice background blur effect. You can create realistic blur effects, really, with various aperture styles. It's a lot like, you know, a big fancy camera. If you want to emphasize that certain things move, you can go with a motion blur effect. You can even take a double photo. I tried that out. It's varying results, but that's a feature as well. I do have to say, AfterFocus was not intuitive for me at first at all. There are directions, and I had to go through them a couple times before I really understood what I was doing. However, you will get the hang of it, and then it's a very cool tool. I'm not sure how often I will use it, but for 99 cents, it might be good to throw into your photography folder and just have on hand. Number 3, hey, this week you might be taking a ton of photos of your family or your friends, or the llamas that you're spending Christmas with out on the ranch. It's fine, I'm not gonna judge you. But why even bother with apps that give you fancy blurring and filtering options if really all you wanna do is replace your actual Photos app? There is an app called Photos Plus that does just that. It's literally a replacement for the built-in Photos app that Apple gives you for viewing and organizing and sharing your pictures. It has more sharing options. It shows you more info about where and when and how you took your photo. That comes in handy when you're like, hey, what was that app I was using? I don't really remember what, my settings were. And it doesn't crop to a square in the grid view. Some people really like that feature. Photos Plus comes with sharing, Facebook, Twitter, Flickr, iMessage, email, the big guys. So it's really not going to change the way you look at your photos. It just might feel better than what Apple does for you, especially if you're like me. You've got a million different photos sprinkled over a bunch of different albums, and it needs a little bit of organization. I think the price is a little steep. It's $2.99, but Photos Plus is just what you always wanted, so go for it. You deserve it. This episode of iFive for the iPhone is brought to you by Gazelle. If you're thinking about getting the new iPad or a new iPhone, Gazelle wants to buy your used gadget like an iPhone, an iPad, or other smartphone in exchange for cash. What's cool is that you can lock in your price today and then send it to Gazelle when you get your new item, because Gazelle's offer is good for 30 days. It's really helpful. Go to gazelle.com, that's Gazelle.com, and find your item. Tell Gazelle the condition your item's in, and then you'll get a risk-free offer for your gadgets and free shipping. When it's time to get your money, you can get your money via check, PayPal, or get an extra 5% with an Amazon gift card. 'Tis the season for that. Go to gazelle.com now and get that offer. Offers are good for 30 days. That's nice because it gives you time to transfer data or set up your new device, and Gazelle will also wipe your data for free. It's trustworthy. More than $100 million to over 700,000 customers and counting. Free shipping, fast process. Gotta love Gazelle. What's your iPhone worth? Take a minute, go to gazelle.com and find out. Do it now, though, because your iPhone may lose value the longer you wait. That's gazelle.com, and thanks to Gazelle for sponsoring this episode of iFive for the iPhone. Number 4. I always do that with number 4. It's just fun. Seriously, the photo theme, it's just not gonna quit today, and I'm not gonna make it. Here's a tip that we got from Gary. He writes, "While using the camera app, I inadvertently took several photos with a filter turned on. It took me a while to figure out what was wrong with my photos, and then I turned it off. Thinking my photos were ruined, I still uploaded them to iPhoto. However, I discovered that if I click on Revert to Original in iPhoto, the filter was removed, and the photo was how it should have been and is now usable." All right, so I assume Gary's talking about iPhoto on his Mac. But I tried it out, and this works in iPhoto for iOS too. In fact, any filter that you apply in the native camera app is accessible from iPhoto on iOS, which is really helpful. I've actually found the filters in the native photo app a little weird. For example, none right in the middle when you're choosing filters obviously means no filter, but it's right in the middle. It kind of looks like a filter. So I've had to train myself to not look for the little X or some other way to remove filters or get out of that page. It's a nice app, but sometimes the design feels a little wonky. But if you're like Gary and you really hate that super filtered photo that you just took and you're never gonna take another one like it again, open it in iPhoto and strip out the filtering altogether. Number 5, let's finish the second to last iFive of this year off with a little something special, shall we? Let's call it the App Update Roundup. First up, Pandora. Pandora now has a new feature that allows you to set an alarm clock to wake up to your favorite Pandora station. Genius! There's even a built-in snooze button. Geniuser! Next, Mailbox. My favorite iPhone email client now includes support for iCloud and Yahoo email accounts. It's a Christmas miracle! Finally, Foursquare. I know a lot of people still think, oh, Foursquare is that gamey app check-in nonsense. It's really different these days. If you haven't opened it in a while, it's different. When you arrive somewhere new, Foursquare now tells you the best thing to order, if you're at a restaurant, or some sort of money-saving special, even if you don't open the app. Obviously, you need to turn on notifications for that, but it's really helpful if you're somewhere unfamiliar or you just like a good deal. Plus, more of what's nearby, tips, specials, and of course, you can still see where your friends are. Thanks, Foursquare. If you ever see or hear of a great app or a trick or a news item or something else on iFive and you want to go back over it or pass it along to someone else, just hop over to our show notes at twit.tv/iFive. That's where all our links are. All our subscription links are there as well. You can add our show to your favorite podcast. It's all good stuff. Email us at iFive@twit.tv with feedback or yell at me or something like that. Leave us a voicemail at 614 on iFive. That's probably a better way to yell at me. Or send us a video with an app review of your own. I'm Sarah Lane. This is iFive for the iPhone, and I'll see you all next week. Thanks for watching.